So
I'm
I
ready.
have I'm sorry.
Go, I'm ready, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Don't get
I
off
have
the track.
always been a huge fan of puzzles. And I'm not talking about the type that you spread out all over the kitchen table and you get frustrated with after just a couple of minutes. I'm talking about puzzles like mysteries and things like that. And I guess I got kind of turned on to that because I used to really like Scooby-Doo whenever I was growing up. Probably
yeah.
the best show ever on television.
Yeah.
But that love of puzzles kind of helped fuel me wanting to study things like archaeology, criminal behavior, and things like that. And so it just made sense. And something that always fascinated me that was very similar to that was people's family stories, their genealogy. And genealogy, whenever you think about it, really is exactly that. It's a puzzle. It's finding out a base of information and then plugging into the pieces that go with that. So I've always associated my love for genealogy with something that my dad used to tell my brother and I. My brother's about 5 years older than me. But as we were growing up from a very young age, whenever we were going out to school, on a date, to church or something, he would always say this. He would always say, boys, remember who you are. And I remember whenever we were really young kind of asking him, Daddy, what does that mean? And he says, well, what that means, son, is it means me and your mother have a very high expectation of you whenever you leave the house. How you treat people, how you behave, and because that, and he would always say that reflects on us, and he would say that reflects on our family name. And so as I was growing up, I internalized that a great deal, and that was something that I took a lot of pride in, and I was always kind of reaching for that and taking a lot of pride. So what I kind of, over the years, started to interest me with genealogy was starting to find out as I was becoming a young man, where does my family come from? That piece of that puzzle. Daddy was always saying, remember who you are. The Wells name, that's who you are. You boys remember you're part of the family. And we always felt like we belonged. Home was always a very safe place for us. And so I started getting into who we were, and so the most logical place to start looking was to ask people that I knew, family members. And if your family is as crazy as mine, I'm pretty sure all families are crazy, but it was very difficult to find information from them because our family's not very connected. And so you just got little bits and pieces of stories here. So, but a fantastic story that I had was my mother would always tell this story. Her mother's maiden name was Turney, spelled T-U-R-N-E-Y. And the story was that they were from Ireland and came over during the potato famine, which for historians, was 1845 to 1849. I had to look that up, I didn't know. But during the potato famine, and their name was O'Durney, very Irish name, right? And so whenever they came over, because no one liked Irish people at the time, they changed their name to Turney to sound more American. And that was the family story. And I would tell people, they would say, where's your family? We're Irish. Sure, gotcha. Well, come to find out, whenever I finally started doing the research, her family's actually from Switzerland. And the name was spelled T-U-R-N-I, and they actually came over in the late 1700s and changed their name to get away from anti-German sentiment, because people immigrate in waves and in groups. So even though I didn't have a good potato parable to tell people, I still continued to build on that. But the one thing that I could never nail down was my Wells name. I found family crests, immigration logs, ship manifests, anything you could possibly imagine. I was online. I went to the National Archives. You should go to the one that's over here in Mara, by the way, next to Clayton State. The National Archives. I called strangers on the phone that I had never spoken with and did the whole, please don't hang up, this is who I am and this is how I think we're related, can you tell me something? And I could never find out where the Wells family name came from. At the year 1900, it just stops and everything else is just kind of out there floating. I took one part of our family all the way back to Scotland in the 1200s. So I've gone way, way back. And so it's always been very stumping to me. And so as I was putting together some thoughts for this 3-minute talk tonight, I knew that I wanted to brag about that because that's kind of my hobby. I ask people all the time, what does your family name mean? Where are you from? I ask people that all the time because I love hearing their individual stories. I grew up here, we're from here, we relocated from here. And as I was putting the thoughts around this talk, I thought to myself, I would be a little embarrassed to speak about this tonight because I wasn't ever able to get my main goal that my dad was always saying, remember who you are, you're a Wells. And so I kind of came to the realization that even though that's my name, that's not my identity. And I love how the Holy Spirit uses teachable moments, and that was a teachable moment for me earlier this week. Whenever he reminded me, he says, your identity is not in what your parents call you or what people know you as. He says your identity is through your salvation. That's through Jesus Christ, and that's that free gift. And so I just kind of wanted to leave you guys with, even though I may not ever know who I am, I'm okay with that.